Well, that didn't take very long at all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So the other day I posted that video that was a PSA grade reveal, and in it I had a Secret Wars #8 Origin of the Black Costume in a newsstand copy that hit a PSA 9.8, and I made mention in that video that I wanted to list it on eBay to see what it could actually sell for, at least in comparison to the CGC typical graded prices for that type of book. And guess what? The other day, it sold. So in this video, I wanted to go over the sale, talk about it, compare it to some of the other numbers that we've seen for books like it, and talk about some of the other PSA comic books that have actually been moving on the secondary market. But of course, before I get into it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps with the channel doing those things. Also, I'm going to give away the book that I said I was going to give away in that other video. I'm going to pick the winner in this video here today. So stay tuned till the end to see if you won the PSA slab. But let us talk about the Secret Wars #8 from 1984, PSA 9.8 newsstand. I have to explain the methodology of how I listed it, how I came to the conclusions of what I should let it go for, and give you guys the full story, paint the whole picture for you guys. So typically, 9.8 newsstands for this type of book, I said in my previous video, typically sell anywhere from, on the highs of 1,800 to, sometimes at auction has gone as low as 1,200 and 1,300 here. The 90-day average is 1,500. The 30-day average is 1,615. And so I was kind of throwing out to you guys in that video, what should I list my book for? What would be a good sort of pulse check to the community? What would be the most useful information? Some people were like, oh, just list it at 1,500, see if it'll, just blow out right away. Some people said, oh, you should list it at like 1,700. And then a lot of people actually said you should 100% be listing it at 2K with best offers. And so that sounded like the best idea to me, because if there was somebody out there that had to have it, they would buy it now right away, or I would get a bunch of offers that I'd be able to compare and then get like a pulse check of where the market is for that type of book. Now, one thing to consider here is that this book did have the distinction of exceptionally white pages. If you guys don't know, PSA, like CBCS, is doing a new page distinction that is better than white pages. I asked some of you guys in the comments down below, what is the exceptional white page rate at CBCS? And a lot of people said it's not very common that you actually get that distinction. So I guess it is a little bit of a, prestigious thing. Because this book had that, maybe it's not a perfect comparison, but, I just had to throw it out there for you guys. So with that being said, what did this book actually end up selling for? $1,750, $1,750, a very good price for this particular book. Not the all-time high, not even the yearly high for this thing, but I would say right in line to the sales that we have seen with CGC. If I go back here to, their recent sales for 9.8s, we had one that was 1,800 here. We had one before that was 1,799. We had a slash price of 1,849. We had 1,500, 1,800 back in April, 13, 1450. So again, yo-yos up and down. But when I got the 1,750 offer, I said, you know what, that's a respectable offer. I should probably just take it. Now, I did get multiple offers for that book. And actually, one thing that was really interesting is that the person who ended up buying the thing actually made me an offer twice. First, they sent over an offer of $1,550, and then they raised their offer immediately. Like, they canceled that one. They raised their offer to $1,750, and that was sort of like an indication to me that it's like, okay, this person actually really wants this book. You know what? That's a really good offer. I'm going to take that offer. I respect that. But I did get other offers. I got one for $1,600. I got one for $1,625, and I got another one for $1,500. And then I got some troll offers from some random account named Automatic Comics, who offered me $800.85. What a disrespectful offer. I want you guys to write that number down, $885. And look at it and stare at it and see the type of offer that this person, Automatic Comics, made me. So obviously I didn't accept that one, and I ended up going with the 1,750 offer. And one thing that I will say is that this was one of the hottest listings I think I've ever had on my eBay account. Like, there were so many people that, were looking at this thing. If you guys know on eBay, how you have the little red icon or the little thing that pops up in the upper left corner where it'll say like 100 viewers in the last 24 hours. Like, how many watchers was I getting? I was getting I think I had like 35 watchers. I had a couple of people who had the book in their cart, all of those things. So there were a lot of people that were very interested in this thing. And I don't know if that is more a testament to the fact that, hey, it's a new PSA comic book, and therefore anyone is just going to be interested in what these things sell for, because everyone's trying to get a sense of what is going on in the market. Or if this was just a book that, because it's a Secret Wars 8, in a newsstand, and it's already a very, very popular book, and people are excited about Secret Wars, and the fact that this had exceptionally wide pages, this was one that was very, very desirable. But either way, it's a book that a lot of people in the market on eBay had their eyes on, and I hope that the person who ended up getting it is very, very happy with their purchase. So let's just kind of reflect a little bit and talk together about what this means for the state of PSA comic book sales compared to that of CGC. I think it's a really good indication, like right away. I think that the big conversation is, of course, what are the PSA books going to sell for in relation to the CGC counterpart books? Because at the end of the day, money talks, right? Like if the books sell for the same prices as CGC, then that opens up a lot more people to be using their services. And the more trust there is in PSA maintaining its secondary market value, then the more people are going to be willing to send their, high value books. If you have a book that is like really, really expensive, I mean, and that PSA is only going to get you whatever 80% of the market value, or 85%, or even 95%, it just sort of is obvious that you're going to still want to use CGC. But if they can get roughly within the same wheelhouse, then they're certainly going to be able to get a lot more inventory, and that's going to make them way more competitive in the long run. Now, of course, there is the novelty aspect here, and it's important to point out that there was a time back in the kind of COVID boom explosion where the CBCS books were selling pretty close to that of CGC. I mean, maybe there was like a couple percent difference, but for the most part, CBCS at a time was competitive as well. And that was when people were excited about their brand. And right now, people are excited about the PSA brand. So, we have to really keep our eye on this and see how these things hold up, 6 months from now, a year from now. If PSA, has a bunch of scandals, or, they're not able to keep up with, the processes and all that stuff, that can definitely hurt the brand of the company, and maybe people won't use them. But for right now, people are definitely excited to get their books. Now, a couple other little things to point out. I think that this is really interesting. I'm over here on Go Collect's website. They have the CGC tab right here, which of course is what I've been showing you guys to show the CGC sales. But if you guys remember, I made a video talking about how they're going to be reporting on PSA sales. And what do you guys see? The PSA tab right there. If I click on over and I check this out, hey, there's a 9/8 sale. One of them has been sold on 7-30 for $17.50. There you go. So already Go Collect is incorporating the PSA sales onto their site. It doesn't seem like they're going to be mixing them together, but they do have a tab that is going to show the PSA sales. So I think that is very interesting and cool to see. Again, the ecosystem of comic books bringing in PSA into it, whether it be the pricing services or the auction houses or whatever they are, the more that PSA can actually get its tentacles deep into the comic book culture, that's going to cement them more into people being willing to use them. Now, one of the things to talk about, I did end up listing my Marvel Rivals #1, the J. Scott Campbell variant. That one also did sell, as you guys can see, a slash price of $125. For this one, it was a hot book as far as people looking at it, but I only got one offer, and I said, hey, I'm just willing to take that. Not a record sale for this. I accepted a $109 offer. I thought that was fine. It's not too far out of line to what some of the CGC sales have been going for, $115. There was a $155, a little while ago. There was also an $81 that went at auction, a $100 one, earlier than that. This is one of those books that, again, I think it's slowing down its momentum from when it initially came out. But, someone was still willing to pay $100 for it. And that's not too dissimilar than the 90 or 30-day moving at 123 or 124. But, at the same time, I kind of wanted to just blow it out. I'm sure that if I held it, and I was like waiting for the right person to pay the actual price, I could have, gotten the 125 out of it. But I wanted to sell it so that I could talk about it in correspondence with this video so we could have more content. Now, the one other book to talk about is this one right here. Shout out to Dave from Comic Investments. This is his auction house account. He actually started this book at a $1 start and ended up selling his Wolverine Limited Series #1 in a PSA 9/8 for $530. That is a very respectable sale for that book. If we go over to the 9/8 and see what they typically sell for on eBay, this is actually above some of the recent auction prices. Now, on Heritage, this is a book that usually flies under the radar. It sold for $432, but a fixed price here on eBay at $550. Another fixed price on eBay at $550. Heritage auction $396. An eBay auction for $492. So the most recent eBay auction sold for more with his comic book right here, the PSA one, than the most recent eBay CGC version of this book. But either way, selling kind of right in line to at least the 1 year average. I mean, the 90-day is 490, the 30-day is 462. He got 530. So that is very respectable for his sale as well. And once again, is a good early indication for, the possible success of PSA and PSA graded comic books. Now, shout out to Dave again. Love you, Dave. But at the same time, he did advertise this book as first ever graded PSA comic book. I don't know about that one. I think that might be a little bit of a play on words. I can't imagine that this was the first ever graded PSA comic book, the literal first ever. I mean, looking at that serial number, no way, right? No way this was the first one graded. Also, I very much doubt that this was the first even Wolverine one graded. I mean, there were Wolverine ones that were being used in their promo and marketing material. So it is possible, much like the exceptionally white pages that I had on my Secret Wars 8, that the fact that this book is branded as the first ever graded PSA comic book, that this got a premium for that reason. And that's why I'm bringing it up here is that, again, these are interesting sales. It's good to talk about them, but, we have to still keep our eyes on them. That, I'm not ready to make conclusions that PSA is here and PSA is ready to sell, 1-to-1 to CGC. We're going to have to see a lot more. And right now, it's certainly a novelty thing that I think people are really enjoying and people are willing to pay maybe more of a slight premium than some of the other books that they would normally get in a CGC slab. All right, let's kind of do our giveaway here. In this video, I mentioned that I was going to be giving away this Fantastic Four #3. It was a PSA book that I picked up at San Diego Comic-Con. I said in this video that you need to just include the word fantastic, and I would be able to use this random comment picker. 300 comments, 298 to be exact. All right, let's find out who the winner is for transparency purposes. You have just won your very first PSA graded comic book. Congratulations to Russell Guno 2460. A fantastic idea would be to list it for $2K with best offers starting at $15.50. See, comment like that, Russell. That's exactly what I did. I just realized the camera was not on me. You guys are going to call shenanigans, but my bad. This is real. Congratulations, Russell Guno 2460. Fantastic idea would be to list it for $2K with best offers starting at $15.50. Russell, reach out to me, sir. Let me just kind of really quickly pick a runner-up in case Russell doesn't actually reach out to me. And as you guys see, okay, again, for transparency purposes, I put in the video, it loaded the comments. I said 298, it's 297 now, and then I hit the button and Russell won. But here's the runner-up. Who's going to be? Okay, Hup Spring, you are the runner-up. At first, I didn't like the new PSA labels, but the more I see them, the more they are growing on me. That is fantastic. I have to say, I think the labels are growing on people as well. Generally speaking, I think more and more people, once they get them in hand, they're going to get used to them. Although I do have a lot of criticisms still for the slabs and the labels, but I'm waiting to talk about that when I eventually do my case review video. Let me just pick up one more runner-up here, and maybe I can give you guys something regardless. Why not? Well, let's just give out some stuff. I don't know. I'll send you something cool from San Diego. All right, my third runner-up here is Spectre N7VN. Fantastic. I say sell the PSA uniqueness and use offers to get an idea of what people would pay. If you list at $15.50, you'll never know if someone would have offered $16.50 or $1,700 or more. Again, I feel like I used you guys to perfection here. That's why I listed it at $2,000 and I got the offer at $17.50. So there you guys have it. That was my market report for PSA graded selling comic books. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about some of the numbers these early sales for PSA comics are getting? Do you think it's more about the novelty and people just kind of excited to get the first version of these slabs? Or do you think that this is something, where people in the comic book collecting world just value PSA and they think that they're willing to pay the same price as that of CGC? Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next video.